Hello everybody and welcome to the video. In this tutorial, I'm going to help you get a little more familiar with Blender's graph editor. Now, a lot of new animators I've talked to really don't like the graph editor, and I can kind of see why. It's a little bit confusing, which is why I'm making this video to help all the animators out there who hate working in the graph editor. This is to help you become more familiar with it and learn how it works so you can animate faster and just overall have a nicer experience working within Blender or in any 3D program. It all kind of works the same. So let's jump right into the video. Okay, so the graph editor is simply like any other kind of 2D graph. It's taking all of this 3D information that's in space and converting it into something that can exist in 2D. So this is 2D, this is 3D. That's kind of the first thing to wrap your head around. So I'm just going to go ahead and move frame 10. Move this over. I'm going to set a location, and let's come over here. This is our object. Now we've created a keyframe, and I'm going to hide everything except for the Y location. Why am I hiding everything but the Y location? Pun intended. Because as you can see up here, the Y axis is the only one that I moved it on, and it even keeps the same colors in here. So you can see Y, green here, red is X, which is the same here. You can select it, say that's red, and then Z, blue. So it's all color coordinated. Okay, so the graph editor has two directions, and each of them do something different. Your right and left, so this is your time. Like the timeline down here is about the same thing as this up here, as time-wise. You scrub to the right, you go forwards, to the left is backwards. That's time. Now the graph editor has a different dimension. It has up and down, which is your value. Now, what does your value mean? So you see, if it's right here, we are at a value of 0 on a location. We are directly in the center of the world. We have traveled 0 in all directions. But when I bring it over here, we have traveled 7.4169. And that is the same thing down here. It's the same information. Now, if we grab it and press Y, so we're only moving it up and down, we're only changing the value. It's we're not changing time like this. If we were to do that, we would change the X value right and left. And what I mean by Y is up and down. In the graph editor, your Y is up and down and your X is side to side. Not like the 3D viewport. So by editing this, I can decide we only want to go, say, about 2. We'll drag it down about 2. Fitting, and we can see that right up here. This is the value. So no matter how far we drag it in time, it's only going to go up to 2. We're only editing value when we drag it up and down. And to say I wanted to drag it farther, I can bring it up to 12. And voila! You also have indicators over here on the side as well. Now, working with one axis is pretty easy, but what happens if we were to work with multiple axes? So I'm going to drag it over here, and I'm going to drag it up here. I'm going to set a location, and now we have all this going in different directions. What do these mean? So the easiest way to think about this is to think of each of these individually. We still have our Y-axis. So it's traveling up here in a Y, or we can look at it here as well. If we zoom on in, now it's traveling about 12 on the Y-axis, which in 3D space means it's moving right about 12 units. And then we have the Z-axis, which is up and down. And on Z, it's moving up 4.3. And then the same thing with X, it's moving back, but this one is negative. Now the X is going down instead of up. And that means that we are going on the negative axis. Every axis has a positive and a negative. So for X, positive is coming forwards, and then negative is going back. Remember, because this is 0 right here. So in order to get less than 0, in order to travel this way, it has to go into a negative direction, which is the same thing down here. Here's 0. Here's the 0 line. And then here's the x coordinates. This is the x-axis, and I can tell that it's gone backwards because it's negative. Okay, let's try and do rotation now. I'm going to rotate this. Let's just do 45 so we can see it. Okay, so basically the same thing. I rotated it on the z-axis. See here, so only the z-axis has value on it. And it's right up here at 45. You can see it, bada bing. And then if I were to grab this up and down, it's going to move. It's going to be greater or less than what I put in. And then if I wanted it to spin the other way, because right now if we're going travel this way, it's spinning in this direction. What if we want to spin it the other direction? Well, I'm going to take this, I'm going to drag it all the way down here to about the 45 section. I'm just going to type in negative 45 just to make it exact. And now it's going to spin the other direction. So how do we use this information to animate? Well, here's an example of a cube going up and down. I use this a lot for examples because it kind of makes the most sense visually. When the value goes up in the graph editor, the block goes up. So it has a positive value, so it's going up. Negative value makes it go down. 0 brings it back to the very center. Now let's say I want to make this ball, or make this cube jump. I want to make like a nice smooth jump. But when I was going through setting my keyframes, it looks something kind of more like this. It's all kind of, it's out of sync. It doesn't even look right. It's like, that's not a jump. That's not what I wanted. And how do we edit this? Well, with the graph editor, it is super duper simple. Watch this. I'm just going to kind of bring these up and down just to try and make it a little more smooth. That's pretty smooth. And then I'm also going to make these free handles just for fun. And I'm going, and you can grab these handles as well. This is like a deeper step into it. Beyond grabbing your individual keyframes, you can also grab these handles. And then if you select the keyframe and make it free, then you can grab each of these and move them individually. Whereas if you have these, which are auto clamped, which I hope if you're animating that all your keyframes are auto clamped to begin with. Not automatic, no, auto clamped. But if they are auto clamped and you grab one side, the other side is automatically going to adjust to try and make this curve as smooth as possible. But I'm going to take this and grab it and move it up on the y-axis. Actually, you know what? I'm going to grab both of these. Not you, just the handles. I'm gonna grab them both up at the same time. Something kind of just like this. And we don't even really need these. I'm just going to delete those for simplicity. And now we have a proper animation. So this is something we can really only do with the graph editor. Is instead of just creating more keyframes to try and manipulate, like I could try and do this effect right here. Okay, so here's the different curves of our two blocks. This is the first one. This is the one I did where I edited the handles of the keyframe to make it really sharp and give it that nice boing. This one is just plain keyframes. This is just me just coming down here and putting keyframes on the timeline. Don't want those. And you can very much tell that this one doesn't look like a bounce. So whereas I could kind of fix this by selecting about halfway and then doing a location keyframe. I'm not going to use graph editor for this. And then bringing this over like almost all the way. The same thing here. I'm going to do about halfway. Location, I'm going to bring this almost like all the way over. And then we almost kind of get the same thing. Almost. but it's not good. This is not a good practice. So it's really kind of imperative and very important that you learn to come into the graph editor and edit your curves so you can get these nice bounces. You can get these sharps, you can get these smooths. And as you start animating characters and start getting more and more complex, this becomes even more important because you'll have bones, you'll have keyframes just going absolutely everywhere. So you'll need to be able to isolate one, say, okay, all I want to work is with the Z location, and I come in here and I can edit, smooth it all out, and then I can move over to the Y location, do the same thing, and yada, yada, yada. Okay, let's animate a simple ball bounce to kind of go over everything that we have learned so far. I want to make this 40 so we can get a couple bounces. I'm going to set a location keyframe, and then I'm going to set another location keyframe, but I want to bring this up, let's say 5. And location. I'm going to come back down to 20, and then we'll just put 0 location. There we go. And then I'm going to go up here to 30. Just stick with me. And we're going to make it a little less. Location. And then 0 location. So then it kind of loses energy. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, so first let's fix our, oh no, you know what? Let's make it real confusing. Let's really confuse you guys and see how well you can figure this out. So I'm going to come in here and hide everything except for the X location. We're going to add this into the mix. And I'm going to delete all of these except for the first one and the second one. And the second one, I want to bring up. So I'm going to grab it on the Y-axis and I'm going to bring it, oh, I don't know, let's say 10. Let's just type it in here. Oh, no, not 110. Location. So now, not only is our ball heading up and down, but it's going to the right as well. So we have 2 axes to worry about. And we're not going to work with Y for this one. Once you figure out these two, working all 3 is going to be kind of very similar, and it should be pretty easy. First thing I want to do is let's fix our X location. Okay, I want this to move very fast at first and then slow down. So something I'm going to do, I'm going to select the beginning keyframe. I'm going to hit V. I'm going to make it a vector. So a vector keyframe is, how do I explain a vector keyframe? A vector keyframe is always going to take the shortest path. So instead of making this curve, so if we were just to have it like this, instead of making it nice and curved and going up here and trying to do something like that, it's always going to take the shortest path possible. So it's just straight from here to here, and then it's curved on this one because this one's an auto tangent. They're always going to be very straight, and it's always going to be very sharp. So that's the vector handle. I'm just going to set that down there, and then it's going to slow down as we get over here. Why is it going to slow down? Because the value is getting less and less. And I can actually drag this on the X-axis to make this a bit smoother. And now we can see our value starts dropping or going up because we are going up to 10. So our value starts going up really, really quickly, and it's traveling really fast in this direction. And then as we continue, the value starts to slow down. So like in the first 10 frames, it goes from nothing to 4.5, 4.5. And then over the next 10 frames, it goes up to 8.1, which is a little less. And then over the next 10 frames, it only gets to 9.6, which is a whole lot less. The value gets less and less as we go because I stretched this out so far. Oop, come back, please. No. Yes, thank you. Because I edit this on the time. It's not going to go farther than what we set it, but it is going to get there faster. Now, if I were to bring this way in, then it would get there slower. Okay, so that's what we're going to do with our X location for now. Now we need to figure out this hop. Whoa, come back. Quick tip. If you somehow find yourself lost like this and you can't find your stuff anywhere and you're way up here in no man's land, how do you get back to your keyframes? Hit your home key. Just hit home and it'll bring you back to the entire thing. Ta-da! Okay, so what are we looking at? This is the same thing. It's our bounces, but it doesn't have any bounciness. They're all smooth. They take off real slow. It's like a rocket ship, like, and they take off, whoa, and then they slow down, and then they go, whoa, and now they slow back down again. That's not how gravity works. That's not how falling works. So we need it to go really fast and slow down, and then get really fast and continue really fast and then slow down, and then get really fast again. And also, there is an extra key that's not doing anything. Why is it here? I don't know. We don't need it. I'm going to make this free. And then I'm going to select this keyframe and this keyframe at the same time. Grab it on Y and bring them up. And this is not going to be even because these are not the same. So this one's going to get a little more. Something kind of like that. And what I'm doing is simply trying to make this as smooth as possible. And I'm going to do this again here. And what I'm doing is I'm trying to make this arc look as much like an arc as possible. So like this is broken arc. This is not good. This is not what we want. So we're going to make it free. I'm going to select this. I'm going to bring it up and make this arc look as symmetrical, as even as possible. So again, we have like we did before with the bouncing. It's going to start off really fast and then slow down. And it's going to get really fast again. It's going to ping, hit, and then take back off with the same speed. And then slow down, and then come back down and fall again. Let's actually play this and see how it looks. Ping, ping, boing, boing. It looks okay. Something I notice is that because this one is in the air, it doesn't go up as high, it shouldn't be up in the air as long. So what I'm going to do actually is bring this in 2 and then bring this in 1 so that it's still the same amount. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whoop. Okay, we want this to be even so we can have 8 and 8. Now it's looking better, but something's still off. What's off about it? We did too much to our X location. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this handle, if it'll let me, and I'm going to dial it back. So, okay, that looks a little better. Awesome, we have our ball bounce. Yay! That wasn't so hard. Now we take it to our supervisor and he's like, that's good. I want it 10 units to the left. Oh my gosh, I have to reanimate that entire thing and move it to the left? No, 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 no. I know. It's okay. It's okay. It's easy. You know why? Because we know how to use the graph editor. It's so simple. We don't have to reanimate anything, not zip. You know what we need to do? He wants it 10 to the left. So on the x-axis, that's going to be negative because this way is positive. You can tell because the arrows are always pointing to the positive. So we need to take these X keyframes because we don't need to do anything with Z. He didn't say anything about it being bad up and down. The up and down is perfect. Absolutely how we want it. He wants it 10 to the left. So I'm going to grab all these keyframes, press Y to lock it to the Y axis. So we're only moving up and down. We're only changing the value. And then we're going to come all the way down here and move it 10. You can see right here. And we're just... nope. -10. And look at there. We didn't have to reanimate anything. The ball is 10 units to the left. Our supervisor is happy, and we didn't have to do any extra work. Booyah. Nice. This is the power of the graph editor. The ability to reanimate and readjust your stuff without actually having to reanimate anything. Setting no extra keyframes. All you have to do is edit your handles or move the value of it, or even, move the time if you need to do that. This is the power of the graph editor. So if you still feel unfamiliar with it, do stuff like this. Go and just animate something real simple, and instead of putting in extra keys, only use the graph editor to edit your animation. If it's too cluttered, we can select all the channels we don't need. So we don't need this one, this one, this one, because we don't have any rotation and we have no scale. And I'm going to delete channels, and they're gone. And all of a sudden our graph editor looks clean and beautiful again. Now this principle carries over to any 3D program, whether it be Blender or Maya. The only difference is some of the axes are different. So for example, in Blender, Z is up and down. And then in Maya, Y is actually up and down. So basically all the names are just basically off. They all do exactly the same thing. It's just for Maya, you'd be editing Y to do up and down, and then instead of Z like you are in Blender. All right, one more thing before we go. Just for kicks, we're going to do rotation just to make it look proper. So we're going to start here. We're just going to we're going to insert a rotation. I'm going to go all the way, actually not to the, we're going to go to the end of the animation. I'm going to actually adjust that. Bing. So right at the end. And I'm going to rotate this on the y-axis. We'll say that's 360. It's all the way around. We'll just do 360 for simplicity. Okay, and we automatically know that it's going to look awful. Why? Because they're on auto tangents. And that's not what we want. We want it to rotate at the same speed as we go. So I'm going to select all the keyframes down here on the Y rotation, press V. We're going to press V and move to vector. And now it's going to rotate as we go. And it looks nice. Alrighty, that's basically all I have for this. This video is just supposed to be a short and sweet example and not a lecture. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up now. If you have any further questions about the graph editor or anything that we talked about today, put them down below. I'll try and answer them as much as I can. If there's too many, I'll make another video and explain the topics that I might have skipped, because there's a lot more to the graph editor than what I have showed you here. But anyways, guys, I hope this helped you. Anyways, guys, I hope this helps. I hope now you have a better understanding of the graph editor, and don't be afraid of it. Just jump in and play with it. Do something really simple, and then you can work your way up in complexity. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna go now. I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.